You know what? I want to speak briefly on this so-called great divide between the so-called Black Americans and the Africans from the continent. Now, to be completely honest, I don't hate the Africans from the continent. I'm sure that there's Africans that believe that Black Americans hate them or dislike them. I think what it is the fact that Black Americans don't trust a lot of the Africans that come from the continent. Um, in their minds, they have history. It's like you don't forget where you came from. If you forget where you came from, if you forget your past, in many cases you're bound to repeat it. And now we have so many Africans that's coming here from the continent saying how we're the same, you're African, we're all black. And my mind goes back to when Africans first started coming here to America. I ran into quite a few Africans that refused to label themselves as being black. And they would very distinctly tell you, I'm not black, I'm African. I'm not black American, I'm African. They made sure that they put a distinction between themselves and the so-called black Americans. So now all of a sudden, we have so many Africans from the continent are saying that they're black. See, not only that, there are so many Africans that were told by their parents not to date or marry or mingle with the so-called black Americans because black Americans are dangerous. They will rob you. They will kill you. They will do terrible things to you. And you were told by your parents and even by the white race that don't mingle among those people. I shared a story about this guy named Joseph that was from South Africa. He came here and married a white woman, right? And he said that when he came through Syracuse University, they told him to not go in certain areas or communities because the blacks would kill him and they would rob him and they would do horrible things to him. So for the longest, he was afraid of black Americans until one day he got lost and he stopped and asked for help. And this brother not only helped him, but he said, I'll take you where you need to go. And he took Joseph back to Syracuse University. From that point on, Joseph set up his little flower business. He was selling flowers and balloons on the street, and he made a lot of money in the so-called black community. The same people that he feared, when they put fear in his heart, them same people now he's making money to send back to Africa to have his mom's his mom house built. Okay, so that's the case. It is with a lot of Africans. Now, when it comes to Black Americans, because of the fact that there's Africans that always we're not black, we're African, or um, they refer to us as the white man because of how we spoke, or because of how we dress. And now you find there's a lot of Africans that dress and talk like us, right? And now they're telling us that we're the same, that we're brothers, that we need to come back home and help build Africa. But Africa never did anything to help us. What do we get in return? If a lot of black Americans move to Africa, what do African Americans or black Americans get in return? See, you're saying that that's the motherland, that that's your land, that's your home. So you only want us to come back and help build Africa without offering the so-called black Americans anything. When there were protests against unjust, there were no Africans out there protesting. You had the whites, you had the Asians, you even had some Middle Eastern and Indian people out there protesting. But there were no Africans out there protesting. So now you're saying that we're the same. But I want you guys to listen to this video I saw on TikTok. And Black Americans aren't the only ones that don't trust. Listen to what this dude, this African dude, had to say about the so-called Black Americans.
We don't want them here.
What? They're your brothers.
They're not our
and
brothers.
sisters.
They're not our brothers.
They are.
If you were born in America and have lived there for 300 years, you're no longer African. Those are Americans. We don't need them.
We don't need
They
them.
were taken away, unfortunately, but they are Americans. We will develop by ourselves. Yeah, we have the capacity, we have the will, we have the resolve. We don't need them. No.
I totally agree with you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Now, he said, we don't need them. We have the capacity to do it ourselves. And you know what? I agree with that dude. We're not the same. And there's a lot of Africans from the continent that acknowledge the fact that we are not the same. The only reason why the Africans are talking is brother, sister, kumbaya, we're the same, come back, help us to build. That's the only reason why. They say you help other countries and other nations, come back and help us. For what? What are you offering us if we came back to Africa to help you build? Nobody offered us reparations. Nobody offered us land. As a matter of fact, the FBAs, the Foundation of Black Americans, are vouching for reparations, and you have a lot of Africans that's against it, telling us that we're lazy, that we need to forget about what happened in the past, that we need to stop blaming the white man and stop blaming Africans. See, that's why Africa is at the bottom, because you welcome everybody. And now they're coming in raping Africa of its natural resources, and Africa is still on the bottom. Vladimir Putin said that Africa is the graveyard for Africans. You go out and spend your money every place else, and then you go back home to be buried, right? You don't support your own people. There's division among there's tribal wars in the continent of Africa. So how do you expect to come here and bond with a people that your ancestors sold into captivity? Help to make sense of that. Now, I've heard and I've spoken to some very sincere Africans. They seem to be sincere, but they will smile. And I've met those type of racist people before. I'm not that young. I know I look young, but I'm not that young. I've been around a while, and a lot of stuff y'all may say, oh, you got to study, you got to read. I don't need to read and study history. I lived history. And those same type of white supremacists did the same thing that I see a lot of Africans do. They will smile. They would be friendly. And then they got a knife in their back. They would talk about you behind closed doors. They would stand right in front of you and talk about you in their own native tongue. And if you don't know that language, they're talking about you and making fun of you. And you sitting there smiling because you think you're friends with them. So I've seen it before. I think there are some sincere Africans out there, but I think there's also a lot of them that's like the dude that was in this video. And I'm going to play that video again to let you hear what he's got to say. So until next time, I'm fearless.
We don't want them here.
What? They're your brothers.
They're not our
and
brothers.
sisters.
They're not our brothers.
They are.
If you were born in America and have lived there for 300 years, you're no longer African. Those are Americans. We don't need them.
We don't need
They
them.
were taken away, unfortunately, but they are Americans. We will develop by ourselves. Yeah, we have the capacity, we have the will, we have the resolve. We don't need them. No.
I totally agree with you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.